Good evening and welcome to this edition of the Evening News for today, Saturday, April 10, 2021. I'm Jemima Holmes. Thank you for tuning in. In the headlines tonight, flooding recorded in regions 3 and 6 as CANJE farmers worried about crops. All Guyanese in St. Vincent are safe, says President Ali. Minister BHARRAT says Guyana on track for cheaper electricity, investor boom. Robbery convict escapes from MAZARUNI prison, and 7 days quarantine mandated for persons traveling to Suriname. Now for the news in detail. We begin tonight's newscast by telling you that the Civil Defense Commission this morning reported that heavy rainfall has caused flooding in regions 3 and 6. The Hydromet Department had warned that moderate to heavy rainfall is expected this weekend, with coastal areas receiving up to 4 inches of rain over a 24-hour period. Above normal high tides are also forecasted and could likely lead to flooding in low-lying, poorly drained and riverine areas. This morning, the CDC said farms at the Conservancy Dam at Canal No. 2 Polder, West Bank Demerara, are underwater, while there are flooded streets and yards in Belwest Phase 2, also on the west bank of Demerara. Authorities in Region 3 are expected to conduct an assessment of the flooding there. Meanwhile, an assessment team has been deployed to Region 6 and is working with the Regional Democratic Council to gather more information on the situation in Berbice. However, the Evening News understands that New Amsterdam has suffered the worst flooding from Friday's rainfall, with the High Court and State House compounds as well as the community of Vryman's Irving remaining underwater up to today. On the east bank of Berbice and on the Corentyne coast, the water receded last night when the tide dropped. The drainage system in Blackbush Polder was sufficient to take off the water without it having any adverse effect on farming. You will now hear, however, that in sections of East CANJE where the water also drained off this morning, residents are now worried about the impact the flooding could have on agriculture. Our Berbice correspondent, Andrew Carmichael, visited Adelphi, East CANJE this morning, where many of the residents make a living by farming. Here's that report.
Many of these residents in Adelphi, East CANJE once depended on Rose Hall Sugar Estate for employment, but were forced to find other means of earning a livelihood when the estate closed its doors in December 2017. Most of them went into cash crop farming. After several hours of continuous rainfall on Friday, the drainage system gave up and could no longer protect the water from rising onto the land. Mostly affected were cash crops.
Yeah, normal like how the rainfall yesterday was high. Not in the bank, been really high, all the trackway been high. But by the time you remember whole day carry on, the water been high, the street all been flood up and things high. So come here, say me gonna be settle one board between that drainer. So like when anybody come for buy now, you know gotta really because remember that Dyson when my husband put it. So when you walk on it now you use that little pacey, so suck on the board set. When the rain come, yes, get one little, but like yesterday, it really high. And the drainage and thing, I think if you had the drainage open up more better, you know, it would be like that.
Meanwhile, Ravinda Sohan, who is another cash crop farmer, says the main drainage canal at Adelphi is partly blocked with vegetation. He said the canal has not been cleared for the past 3 years. In fact, Sohan pointed out that even the coca which once drained Adelphi has been blocked off, thus compounding the problem.
Yeah, this whole place yesterday flooded with water and there's no drainage. With this water go, and you get the city events trench at the back, there's nobody taking care of that trench. They got no high mat, nothing coming to clean the trench at the back. You plant yard, big yard, long here and all over flooded with water and the all crop out to destroy.
Meanwhile, Drupati Ramlal says the floods came at a time when she was putting down new plants. Nevertheless, she is thankful for the quick drainage.
Well, yesterday the place was flooded out and the plant then went underwater and stuff like that.
Do you think it would be affecting you?
Yes, well, we will study the plants because they're small. You know, and then it's 400 plants, so we went study the plant, but the water drained out.
But otherwise, everything okay. You still thank God for the rain, right? You cannot make, because someday when you gotta spend most time water, it's really hard. But you thank God for the little rain too.
For the Evening News, Andrew Carmichael.
Meanwhile, Agriculture Minister Zulfikar Mustafa on Friday visited two of the recently installed drainage pumps in Georgetown, the one at Sussex Street and the other at Rhymeveld, to ensure they are fully operable during the predicted heavy rainfall this weekend. Mustafa noted that government has boosted the drainage capacity in Georgetown with 3 additional pumps through the Indian line of credit. One of these pumps is capable of draining over 30,000 gallons of water per minute. According to the Agriculture Minister, with such a high drainage capacity, he is confident that the kind of flooding the city has experienced over the last few months can be averted. The city's engineer has since reassured the minister that enough human resources are on hand to manage these structures to not only ensure they remain operable, but operate on a timely basis. We now tell you that President Dr. Irfan Ali has said that all Guyanese living and working in the CARICOM island state of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, where the La Soufrière volcano began erupting on Friday, are safe. In this report, you will hear that in addition to mobilizing emergency materials nationally, a disaster relief fund has also been established here to assist the government and people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Here is Vanu Manikchand with the details.
In a telephone interview with the Evening News on Friday evening, President Irfan Ali said he has been in constant contact with St. Vincent Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, while his ministers are also reaching out to their counterparts in the island state.
We spoke to the Honorary Council, and that is what we're doing. He is coordinating, he's in contact with the Guyanese, and he has assured everything is okay.
But no one is asking to be flown home.
We have no request at the moment. The Vice President himself has been in communication with the Honorary Council, and he has assured us that the Guyanese over there are safe. In addition to that, we had a meeting with the private sector. I met with the head of the private sector today. We have decided that we want to coordinate our efforts nationally between the private sector and the government. We have identified the CBC as a focal point to coordinate all the help. We've received from St. Vincent a list of the essential emergency needs, and we're working on that list.
Meanwhile, during an update on the NBC radio in St. Vincent and the Grenadines on Saturday morning, Prime Minister Gonsalves expressed appreciation to Guyana.
The President of Guyana has been in touch with me quite often. They're loading a ship to send a lot of supplies. He told me at a meeting last evening with yesterday afternoon, evening with the private sector in Guyana, they have opened a special account asking for private sector donations for St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
That fund is established at the GBTI Bank for persons wanting to make a donation. Meanwhile, UWI's Seismic Research Center in an update Saturday morning said that tremors from the volcano peaked between 8 p.m. and midnight on Friday, but has slowly declined since. However, there continues to be heavy ashes gushing out of the volcano overnight into Saturday. UWI's geologist, Professor Richard Robertson, on Saturday afternoon inspected the ashes that have covered most of the northern side of the island of St. Vincent.
The evidence is that the volcano has been in this sort of state of gushing ash out since yesterday about 6 o'clock or so, and it hasn't really stopped. Over on the observatory, we could hear it roaring, and it's roaring because material is coming through a confined space, and as it pushes through like gas and rock, it's making a sound. So this has been going on for most of the night. And sorry, people do realize that, what's the time now? It's not the night, eh? Right? It's after 2. It looks like 6 o'clock in the evening, right? It looks like 6 o'clock because of the ash in the atmosphere. It's blocking out the sun. So this has been going on, and this could probably go on. I mean, if it's been going on since about 6 o'clock, it's been going on for quite a long time. And the John who is speaking to the observatory doesn't look like anything has fundamentally changed.
On Friday, there were at least 3 eruptions, and according to Professor Robertson, it is expected that this will continue and even worsen.
We don't see any indication that it's slowing down, so it has had explosions. It will continue to have explosions until it's resolved itself. When we do the numbers, this is probably going to be a big eruption in 79. I would not be surprised if it is, given that it's just started and it's already chucked out more ash than...
Is there a reason for that?
No, there's no reason. It's no reason, but it could be worrying. But because generally soufrières, it can have in small eruptions over time. For some reason,
it has gotten worse.
Yeah, well, for now, this one is looking like it could potentially be a bigger one.
While the volcanic ash is not deadly, the geologist said it is not healthy and can cause respiratory issues. Thick plumes of the ashes are traveling in a northeastern direction and could reach neighboring islands. In fact, Barbados has already issued a severe volcanic ash warning on Saturday morning. Reporting for the Evening News, Vanu Manikchand.
Gerald Bryan joins us now to report that the gas-to-shore project, with which the government is moving full steam ahead, will put Guyana firmly on track, for cheaper energy and an investor boom. This is according to Natural Resources Minister Vikram Bharat, who on Friday urged Guyanese to ready themselves for this transformation. More in this report.
During an address to the virtual Indo-Caribbean Oil and Gas webinar on Friday, Natural Resources Minister Vikram Bharat spoke of the gas-to-shore project. He drew comparisons with Trinidad and Tobago, which he noted has prices as low as 12 cents per kilowatt of power.
Less than half of what we pay in Guyana. So that is where we are moving as a country and as a ministry to ensure that we utilize the gas to produce electricity. And to produce electricity maybe at the cost of what Trinidad is producing it. So imagine another couple of years from now, your parents don't have to worry about the light bill because it will be reduced by almost half. That is where we're heading as a country. And that now would bring in significant investment and opportunities into Guyana.
According to the minister, cheaper energy equates to more investors and more companies willing to enter the value-added market. But he also urged participants to add value to their own skill set and to pursue tertiary education if they wish to compete in the sector.
I want you to use this as a motivation to move from secondary to tertiary education at some point in time. Because in another couple of years, it will be competitive. And people will need skilled workers, people will need competent workers. And to secure a job, you will have to compete with people who are university trained. So I'm encouraging you not to stop at secondary level, but to ensure that you move on to tertiary so that you can compete with the regional workforce and the international workforce, because that is what we need to gear ourselves towards.
Since taking office last year, the current government has expedited preparations for a gas-to-shore facility. This has included the setting up of a gas-to-shore advisory committee to handle the logistical planning of the project. Gerald Bryan, The Evening News.
Coming up on the other side of the break, 86 new COVID-19 cases, 14 in ICU, and robbery convict escapes from MAZARUNI prison. Please stay tuned.
Moving, lifting, or bending, whatever the job, we at Sylvie's Variety Store have the right tools to make it happen. Pallet jacks and hand trucks for bonds and industrial sites, easy pickup and convenient maneuvers. Chain hoist from Roughneck and Northern Industrial, the perfect solution to lifting heavy objects. And then there's the 12-ton and 16-ton hydraulic pipe benders from 1/2 to 2 inch. We also stock the shop press machine from Northern Industrial. Sylvie's Variety Store stocks the tools to make it happen.
Massey is by your side as we continue the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. In collaboration with OneCart, you can now get your groceries delivered or you can pick up curbside. Call, email, or WhatsApp your order to us. This service is available at both Providence and Turkine locations. Delivery and pickup between 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. The fee is based on location. Orders must be paid in cash and placed 24 hours in advance. Special conditions apply. Remember to always protect yourself and those around you by wearing your masks. Also, don't forget to wash your hands and maintain a distance of 6 feet at all times around persons. Massey Stores. Our family serving your family.
Looking to bring your dream home to reality or simply taking on a home improvement project? Then National Hardware Limited is where you should start. Let us put that touch to your home. Choose from over 1,000 Berger Paint original hues for any surface. We are known for our trusted brands such as Westinghouse, Philips, Satco, Rubbermaid, Pyrex, Gibson Home, and so much more. National Hardware Limited, your do-it-best store, located in downtown Georgetown and industrial site Rheinveld.
Welcome back. You're watching the evening news. Guyana's confirmed COVID-19 cases have surpassed 11,000 after 86 new cases were recorded in the last 24 hours. According to the Ministry of Health's COVID-19 dashboard, the total number of confirmed cases is now 11,044. However, only 1,118 of these cases are currently active. This includes 14 patients in the COVID-19 ICU and the remaining 1,104 persons in both institutional and home isolation. There are also another 15 persons in institutional quarantine. Guyana's death toll remains at 252, but the number of persons who have recovered from the novel coronavirus has gone up to 9,688. That is 112 more recoveries than the previous day. The Suriname government has revised its COVID-19 protocols for arriving passengers, and persons traveling to the neighboring country will now be subjected to a mandatory 7-day quarantine. This is in addition to the required negative PCR tests needed to gain entry into the Dutch-speaking country. More in this Rubasinarine report.
The Public Works Ministry advised of these changes on Saturday, noting that everyone entering Suriname either by air or vessel must quarantine for 1 week and possess a negative PCR test. These measures take effect immediately. Potential travelers were advised that a curfew was instituted from April 10th to April 23rd throughout the country. The Suriname Tourism and Hospitality Association has outlined over 50 apartments and hotels which are open for quarantining. Public Works Minister Juan Ejil has said that this decision was taken by the neighboring country after assessing the current COVID-19 situation there. As the situation improves and these requirements change, Guyanese will be informed accordingly.
There are specific hotels that have been named, which we will paste on our Facebook page, so you can check our Facebook page for those hotels. I have since informed the Minister of Health in Guyana, Dr. Frank Anthony, and I have also communicated with my counterpart in Suriname, and as soon as we could have any changes or any adjustments, we will keep you informed. But this is a decision that was made by the government of Suriname, and we have just received notice.
Suriname has implemented a full lockdown mode on weekends, and as such, the vessel will not operate next Sunday as was previously scheduled. Instead, it will be facilitated on Monday. In February, the Ghana-Suriname ferry service recommenced operations for residents of the two neighboring countries following months of closure due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Rupa Sinarain, The Evening News.
A man who was serving a 56-month sentence for armed robbery escaped from the Mazaruni prison on Friday. Reports are that about 3:15 hours, Kevin LaFleur of Providence Housing Scheme, East Bank, Demerara, made a run for his freedom into the bushes aback the prisons. According to police, prison officers scoured the area but did not locate the escapee. As such, a joint services team was called in to search for the escapee. On February 16, 4 prisoners, including inmates on death row, who were convicted for murder and manslaughter, escaped from the high-security prison in Region 7. Those were 25-year-old Imran Ramsewak of Adelphi Village, East CANJE, Berbice, 44-year-old Kenrick Light, whose last known address was Grant Good Intent, Lower Pomeroon River, 22-year-old Samuel Gavaya of Good for Wacting, East Coast Demerara, and 22-year-old Rion Jones of Tamari, East Bank Demerara. Ramsewak and Jones were killed during a shootout with police on March 22 at about 20:40 hours at the Better Hope Backlands, East Coast Demerara. 49-year-old Savita Rajkumar, who had been a close associate of the two convicts, was also killed in that shootout. Meanwhile, Light and Gavaya are still on the run. For the first time, public schools in Region 6 have been equipped with smart classrooms. This follows the commissioning of 2 such classrooms at the New Amsterdam Multilateral and Skeldon Line Path Secondary Schools by Education Minister Priya Manikchand on Friday. Our Berbice correspondent Andrew Carmichael reports that Minister Manikchand also took the opportunity, while in that region, to commission 5 new computer learning centers. Here is more.
According to the Education Minister Priya Manikchand, the smart classrooms which have been created at the New Amsterdam Multilateral School and the Skeldon Line Path Secondary will cushion the effects of face-to-face situation which students are accustomed to. Relating to the difficult experiences being faced by Guyana and the world at large due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Education Minister said the pandemic has been a sobering experience for all and has had a tremendous impact on the education sector.
Using technology in the classroom to be transformational is true. So I want to assure you that at no point, and the staff here particularly, would we say, or you should use as an excuse, well, we have computers now, we don't have to do as much. You actually have to do more. You have to now learn to incorporate these computers that pandemic has brought and the screen and the projector into your classroom, not to replace you or to substitute what you were doing, but to add value to what you already had.
Meanwhile, the 5 computer learning stations were established at the Auckland Primary School, number 36 Primary School, number 59 Primary School, Messiah Primary, and number 63 Newmarket Primary. The Sri Devi Mandir Global Humanitarian Foundation donated the laptops to the school for the establishment of the learning centers. The Education Minister expressed delight at the fact that an overseas-based organization chose to contribute to in a structured way and respond to the current needs of the education sector and the needs of the communities in which the schools are located.
No one solution was going to meet every student in this country. So we expanded the learning channel, we refashioned it to deliver education, actual lessons in accordance with the curriculum and a timetable on that channel, dedicated to education 24 hours a day. Then we went to the radio for some places that are not getting the learning channel, and we delivered lessons there. We asked teachers to go online using Zoom and Moodle and Google Classroom and WhatsApp and Facebook messaging and any other forum that they could use to make sure they engage their children.
On this note, Minister Manichan disclosed that on Monday there will be the opening of schools for online learning for teachers.
And many of them who just finished the exit or are just finishing CAPE do not yet have a first degree. This is their first degree that they're going to do. So I think with that kind of energy and enthusiasm and training, that we will have an education system that is going to be the envy of our peers.
For the Evening News, Andrew Carmichael.
In order to engage the diaspora community amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, the Guyana government has organized a virtual conference next month to appraise overseas-based Guyanese on the country's developmental agenda and opportunities for those who return. Rupasina Ryan joins us again with the details.
Foreign Secretary Robert Prasad announced a virtual conference on May 22nd, specifically aimed at the Guyanese diaspora and aiming to attract much attention on the prospects of returning to Guyana. President Irfan Ali was listed as a featured speaker and will be accompanied by other senior ministers and officials.
we are planning a virtual conference for the diaspora on May 22nd. That's a very important conference where we'll have the President and other government leaders, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, other sector ministers that are relevant. Take, for instance, tourism, perhaps in the housing sector, a lot of people have those issues. In terms of the Guyana Revenue Authority, perhaps the Minister of Finance himself, Guyana Office for Investment, have a number of agencies and ministries where we've detected there have been interest in the diaspora, so they can speak and engage groups and officials and members of diaspora. So that will be an important virtual diaspora conference.
Apart from diaspora engagement, government has started to engage Guyanese missions, consulates, consul generals, and honorary consuls across the globe. This has extended to Guyanese organizations in North America and elsewhere to update on developmental projects. Meanwhile, the Diaspora and Remigration Unit is now under the leadership of Rosalinda Rasul, who was recently recruited to spearhead this department. Some $50 million has been allocated to facilitate diaspora engagements this year.
For the first time in our national budget, there's a specific allocation for diaspora engagement. So we're no longer, the government and the president are no longer just talking about the importance of diaspora and the need for engagement, but rather there is an allocation close to $50 million in the budget to facilitate initially the work of our ministry here and working with sister agencies in reaching out and engaging the diaspora. This is the 50 million is not only the resources that we have available, but also we're partnering with a number of international as well as local partners. Take, for instance, the IOM on a number of projects. So that would not cater for their particular type of intervention.
Prasad had said that government is targeting the second and third generation of the Guyanese diaspora. Rupa Sinarayan, The Evening News.
We'll now take a look at the bridge reports.
The Demerara Harbour Bridge is scheduled to be closed on Sunday, April 11th, 2021 at 3 hours 30 for a period of 1.5 hours. Meanwhile, the Berbice River Bridge is scheduled to be closed on Sunday, April 11th, 2021 at 16 hours 20 for a period of 1.5 hours.
And now for a look at the local stock exchange market compliments of GASI. Shikhar Dhawan, Prithvi Shaw helped Delhi blindside CSK. This and more coming up in the Sportcast, sponsored by Macorp.
Ultra Lubricants, the leading lubricants for tropical conditions, has been serving you for over 40 years, extending the life cycle of your vehicle's engine by protecting it from wear and corrosion, removes impurities, and reducing frequent vehicle oil changes. Ultra Lubricants is for every market, from two-wheel light vehicle to trucks, construction, agriculture equipment, mining activities, and boating. Ultra Lubricants, world-class lubricants for tropical conditions. Distributed by Industrial Supply of Guyana, Inc. and available.
Your #1 supermarket cost cutter has everything you need. Come down to our Sheriff Street or our Track A Farm East Bank Demerara location and shop in comfort, knowing that you're also getting the most competitive prices. We currently have specials on onions, 5 pounds for $500 or a 50-pound bag for $3,500. Purple onions, 25-pound bag for $22.50. Happy macaroni 400-gram packet, 1 for $200 and 3 for $500. Just juice a 500 milliliter, 1 for $135 and get 4 for $500. Miran soybean oil 500 milliliter bottle, 1 for $275, 4 for $1,000. Aqua Pure water, 24 330 milliliter bottles, $1,100 per case. Buy 10 cases and get 1 case free, and much more. Give us a call on 231-7180 or 502-5660. You can also WhatsApp our farm branch on 686-6501 and our Sheriff Street branch on 686-7536.
Welcome back. You're watching the evening news. We'll now shift our attention to some sport news.
When you're looking for superior aftermarket parts, where do you get the reliability and convenience to reduce downtime? The answer is Yellowmark, repair and replacement parts from Caterpillar, that is available only at MacCorp. Yellowmark was developed by Caterpillar, unlike cheap off-the-shelf aftermarket parts. At MacCorp, we will offer you helpful advice on identifying, finding, and installing the right Yellowmark part for your operation.
Yellowmark, for reliability and convenience at a lower cost.
Available at MacCorp. Let's do the work.
The Guyanese contingent will depart these local shores on Monday